A mysterious encounter. Ethan Parker had never been fond of animals. He preferred solitude, keeping his life simple and free of unnecessary attachments. But that stormy night, as rain poured relentlessly, he saw a drenched dog sitting outside his apartment. The dog was shivering but did not look afraid. Instead, it stared at Ethan with a deep, knowing gaze, as if it recognized him. Ethan hesitated. "Where's your owner?" The dog simply wagged its tail as if it understood the question. The rain intensified. Ethan sighed and opened the door. "All right, just for tonight." The dog walked in calmly, as though it had always belonged there. Ethan expected chaos the next morning. He imagined the dog chewing on furniture, making a mess. But when he woke up, the dog was simply sitting by the window, waiting for something. It was unsettling. Most dogs were restless, but this one, it was too calm. Ethan brewed his coffee. "You're not like other dogs, are you?" The dog didn't bark, didn't whine, it just wagged its tail slowly. That's when the strange incidents began. One day, Ethan misplaced his keys. He searched everywhere, his desk, his drawers, under the couch. "Where did I put them?" he muttered. The dog stood up, walked to an old cabinet, and sat beside it. Ethan frowned and opened the cabinet. His keys were inside. His breath caught. "That's impossible. I never put them there." This wasn't the only time. Over the next few days, every time Ethan lost something, the dog would find it, without fail. Ethan began to wonder, had this dog been in his life before? One night, unable to shake his curiosity, Ethan opened a box of old belongings. As he sifted through childhood items, his fingers froze over a photograph. It showed a young Ethan sitting beside a dog, one that looked exactly like the one in his apartment. His heart pounded. "This can't be." The dog walked over and placed its head on Ethan's hand, just like his childhood pet Max used to do. Tears welled in Ethan's eyes. "Max, but you died." The dog gazed at him unwavering. And for the first time, Ethan knew the truth. Max had returned. That night, Ethan dreamed of golden fields. He was running, laughing. Max was beside him. Then darkness, a shadow, a whisper, "Find it." Ethan woke with a start. "Find what?" Max was already by the door, waiting. Ethan swallowed. "Do you want me to follow you?" The dog wagged its tail. Ethan sighed. "All right, but if this is some horror movie nonsense, I swear." But he had no idea. This journey would change everything. The mysterious woman. Max led Ethan to an old part of town. They stopped in front of a small shop. The sign read, "Madame Celeste, seer of souls and past lives." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "You brought me to a fortune teller?" Max sat down. "Great," Ethan muttered. "Let's see what this nonsense is about." Inside, an elderly woman looked up and smiled knowingly. "You took your time," she said. Ethan stiffened. "What do you mean?" She looked at Max. "He's been trying to bring you here for a while." Ethan's skin prickled. "Sit," Madame Celeste said. Ethan hesitated but obeyed. "This dog," she said slowly. "He's not just a pet. He's been with you before." Ethan's breath hitched. "How?" he whispered. Madame Celeste placed a mirror in front of him. "Because something else has been following you too." Ethan glanced at the mirror and saw a dark figure standing behind him. Then it disappeared. The shadow that hunts. Ethan's pulse pounded. "If Max has always protected me," he murmured, "then has that shadow been chasing me all along?" That night he had the same dream. But this time the whisper was clearer. "He can't protect you forever." Ethan jolted awake. Max was already at the door. Then a knock. At 3 a.m., Ethan's breath caught. He turned to the door. Who was there? The letter. Knock, knock, knock. Max stood tense, growling. Ethan swallowed. "Who is it?" Silence. The knocking stopped. Ethan hesitated, then peeked through the peephole. No one was there. But on the doorstep lay a single aged letter. Ethan picked it up with trembling fingers. "We see you. Your time is running out." His hands shook. "What is happening?" he whispered. Max looked up at him as if saying, "You need to remember everything." The final confrontation. Madame Celeste examined the letter. "This means you don't have much time left. If you want the truth, you must go where it all began." "Where?" She pointed to an image in her old book, an ancient forest. Ethan turned to Max. Max's eyes held no fear, as if he already knew. Facing the shadow. The forest was eerily silent. Then a whisper. So you finally came? Ethan turned sharply. The shadow stood among the trees. Who are you? Ethan demanded. The shadow stepped forward. You don't recognize me? But I've always known you in every life. Max growled. The shadow sneered. This dog? Still protecting you? That's amusing. Ethan's breath hitched. Why are you following me? The shadow laughed, hollow and cold. Because in your past life you destroyed me, and now I will return the favor. It lunged. Max leapt forward. Light exploded. The shadow screamed. Ethan squeezed his eyes shut. When he opened them, the shadow was gone. But Max lay still. Max! Ethan dropped to his knees. The dog was breathing, but weakly. Tears burned Ethan's eyes. You saved me again. Max slowly wagged his tail. Days passed. Max recovered, but Madame Celeste warned Ethan. The shadow isn't gone, just weakened. But as long as this dog is with you, you'll be safe. Ethan smiled, scratching Max's head. Always together, buddy? Max wagged his tail as if saying, forever. The end or another beginning? Some stories never truly end. Some bonds last beyond lifetimes.